The packet of chia seeds sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now is not a health supplement. It is a seed packet, a complete, viable, ready-to-plant seed packet. Inside every single one of those tiny black and white specks is a complete plant. A plant that grows 5 feet tall, explodes with beautiful blue and violet flowers for months, and then drops so many new seeds that it comes back on its own, in the same spot, next year and every year after that. You bought it as a drink ingredient. The Aztecs grew it as one of their most important food crops, and somewhere in the 3,000 years between them and you, somebody convinced the modern world to soak it in water and call it a soup, when the more powerful thing it has always been able to do is grow. Here is what you walk away with today. The plant that was one of the most important food crops in the ancient Americas. Grown for centuries, forgotten almost entirely in the modern kitchen garden, and sitting right now in the cabinet of almost every health-conscious household in this country, the exact way to plant the seeds you already have. The one detail that decides whether they flower and produce or just grow leafy and disappoint you. And the trick that turns a single $2 bag of grocery store chia seeds into a garden that feeds and seeds itself for free, year after year, asking almost nothing from you in return. Let us start with what this plant actually is, because most people have never once thought about it. Chia is Salvia hispanica. It belongs to the mint and sage family, the same botanical group that gives us some of the most useful and beautiful plants in any garden. It is native to Mexico and Guatemala, where it grew wild and was cultivated by indigenous peoples thousands of years before the Spanish arrived. The Aztecs valued it so highly that they used it as a form of currency and offered it as tribute to their rulers. According to historical accounts, Aztec warriors carried chia seeds on long campaigns. Warriors who needed to cover enormous distances believed that a single tablespoon of chia seeds sustained enough energy for a full day of marching. The plant was not a minor crop or a regional curiosity. It was a cornerstone of an entire civilization's food system. Second in importance only to corn among the crops the Aztecs cultivated. The Aztecs did not just eat chia seeds. They pressed them for oil. They ground them into flour. They mixed them with water to make a drink that sustained long journeys. They used the whole plant, the leaves, the seeds, and the stems, in ways that made a single patch of chia into one of the most versatile crops on a small farm. The plant grew reliably in the dry, warm conditions of central Mexico, asked for little from the soil, produced enormous quantities of seeds per plant, and came back reliably from self-dropped seeds the following season. It was, by every honest measure of what a good food crop should be, almost perfect. Productive, self-sufficient, nutritious, and beautiful enough to attract the pollinators that other crops in the garden needed to produce their own harvest. Then the Spanish conquered Mexico, and things changed. The colonial powers systematically suppressed many indigenous crops, either because they were associated with religious ceremonies they wanted to eliminate, or simply because the colonizers had no use for them. Chia largely disappeared from mainstream cultivation. It survived in remote communities in Mexico and South America, quietly growing in corners of traditional farms for centuries. But it never made the journey into Western gardens the way tomatoes and peppers and corn did. It slipped through the cracks of history, and when it finally came back into the modern world, it came back in a bag. Sold as a seed you soak in water, not a plant you grow in the ground. Stay with me because the plant itself is something worth knowing about. When you grow chia from seed, what emerges after a week or two is a small, bright green seedling with the recognizable square stems that mark the entire mint family. The plant grows quickly in warm weather, reaching 2 to 5 feet tall in a single season, with large aromatic leaves arranged in opposite pairs along the stems. Those leaves are not just beautiful, they are edible. Used in traditional Mexican cooking as a salad green and a tea ingredient, and the stems, once the plant has finished producing seeds, can be chopped and used as mulch around other garden beds, breaking down quickly and returning nutrients to the soil. Every part of the plant has a use. Nothing is wasted. And then, when the days begin to shorten and the nights grow longer, something spectacular happens. The plant begins to produce flower spikes. Tall, upright columns covered in rings of small tubular flowers. Each flower precisely the violet-blue color that looks almost impossible in a summer garden. A mature chia plant in full bloom looks like something you would pay good money for at a nursery, and it brings in bees and butterflies all season long. Those blue flowers, when pollinated, become seed heads. And here is the part that changes the math on everything you spend at a garden center every spring. Each flower spike produces hundreds of seeds. Each plant produces dozens of flower spikes. A single chia plant, left to mature and dry naturally, will produce thousands of seeds. The same seeds that are in your cabinet right now, the same seeds that sell for $2 a bag at the grocery store. You grow one plant, you harvest the seeds, and you have more seeds than you started with. You grow 3 plants and let a few flower spikes drop naturally, and next spring, those seeds germinate on their own where they fell. The plant self-seeds reliably. It is, in the truest sense, a garden that pays back more than you put in. Think about what that means for the annual ritual of buying seeds every spring. Most gardeners spend real money every year restocking their seed supply, buying new packets of tomatoes and peppers and herbs that they may or may not get planted in time. Chia removes itself from that list permanently. You buy it once, or more accurately, you already bought it once disguised as a health food. And from that point forward, it generates its own replacement supply. The seeds that drop from the dried flower spikes in your garden in autumn are the seeds that germinate next spring. The seeds you harvest from the remaining spikes are the seeds you can plant in other parts of the garden, give to neighbors, or store for 3 years without losing germination rate. A $2 bag of grocery store chia seeds, planted correctly, has the potential to supply your garden with chia plants indefinitely. That is not a figure of speech. That is the biology of how this plant works. Now here is the science behind why it grows so well, and the one detail that almost every beginner gets wrong. Chia is a short day plant. That term means something specific and important. Chia does not flower in response to warmth or age or the number of weeks since it germinated. It flowers in response to night length. The plant measures the hours of darkness each night, and when those hours reach a certain threshold, it triggers flowering. In practical terms, this means chia planted too early in the season will grow tall and leafy and look perfectly healthy, but will not produce a single flower until the nights begin getting longer. Most gardeners who try chia and feel disappointed had this experience: a big, healthy plant, lots of green growth, and then nothing to harvest. They thought they did something wrong. The plant was simply waiting for the right signal. The solution is to plant chia in late spring or early summer, not early spring. Let it grow through the warmth of the season, and then allow it to reach the shortening days of late summer and fall without rushing it. In warmer climates, zones 8 through 12, this happens naturally, and the plant rewards you with spectacular flowering from late summer through autumn. In cooler climates, where frost arrives before the days get short enough, you can encourage earlier flowering by covering the plant with black cloth for 12 or more hours a day in late summer, creating artificially long nights that trick the plant into flowering a few weeks ahead of schedule. It sounds involved, but it takes 5 minutes and makes the difference between a plant full of seeds and a plant that never delivers. And here is one more honest detail that will save you frustration. Grocery store chia seeds that have been stored for a long time may have reduced germination rates. Buy organic seeds when possible. Check the packaging date if you can. And if your first patch germinates unevenly, plant a few more seeds in the gaps. Chia seed germination is quick and reliable from fresh seed, 1 to 2 weeks under good conditions, but older seeds may be slower or once you have established plants producing your own fresh seed, this concern disappears entirely, because your homegrown seeds will be fresher than anything sitting in a bag at the store. What you walk away with from a well-timed chia harvest is substantial. A 3.5-ounce serving of chia seeds, the quantity you can get from a single cluster of flower spikes on one plant, contains extraordinary amounts of nutrients. High levels of calcium, high levels of magnesium, significant amounts of iron, zinc, phosphorus, and potassium. More omega-3 fatty acids per gram than most fish. More fiber per ounce than most vegetables. More protein per ounce than many grains. And antioxidants, including quercetin, camphorol, and caffeic acid that you would pay a significant premium for in a supplement bottle. The seed that your plant grows from its blue flowers and drops in your garden for free is nutritionally equivalent to the one in the expensive bag at the health food store, because it is the same seed, grown in your garden, harvested by your own hands, stored for free in a jar on your shelf. Here is where it reaches you directly. The grocery store sells you chia seeds as a finished product, a bag of seeds for a drink, The price is reasonable, but the relationship is one directional. You buy, you consume. You run out, you buy again. The garden does something different. The garden puts you in a relationship with the plant, and the plant, once established, gives more than it takes. You plant chia seeds once. The plant grows, flowers, and seeds itself. The following spring, new plants come up where the seeds fell. You thin them, let the strongest ones grow, and the cycle repeats without you ever buying another bag. The initial investment is the one small packet you already own. Everything after that is free. This is not a small thing, even though it sounds simple. Think about the cumulative cost of the health foods and supplements and superfood powders that most people who buy chia seeds also buy regularly. Protein powders, omega-3 supplements, fiber capsules, calcium supplements, mineral blends. Each one individually purchased, individually packaged, individually priced. The chia plant in your garden makes a meaningful dent in all of those categories at once. A handful of chia seeds from your own harvest contains more calcium per gram than milk, more omega-3 fatty acids per gram than most fish oil capsules, more fiber per ounce than most fiber supplements, more protein per serving than most protein powders, gram for gram. And it came from a plant that grew in your yard from a seed you already owned, dropped more seeds than it used, and is waiting to do the same thing again next year. The supplement industry sells you the seed, the garden gives you the plant. Those are not the same thing. And the difference between them compounds every season. Now here is exactly how to do it, because the details matter, and getting them right is the difference between disappointment and abundance. Do not start chia seeds indoors in tiny cells or small pots. This plant grows large and develops a root system that does not appreciate being confined early. Start them by pressing the seeds lightly into the surface of prepared garden soil after your last frost date when the ground has warmed and the weather is reliably above 60 degrees. Do not bury them. Chia seeds need light to germinate, which means they go on the soil surface, pressed in just enough to make contact, but not covered. Water gently and keep the area moist until germination, which happens in 1 to 2 weeks. Thin the seedlings to at least 12 inches apart for annual growing, or 18 inches if you want the plants to return as perennials in warmer zones. Choose the sunniest spot you have. Chia wants full sun and well-drained soil. It handles drought remarkably well once established, which makes it ideal for the kinds of hot, dry patches where other plants struggle. It is not fussy about soil quality. It does not need rich soil or heavy feeding. What it needs is sun, warmth, and time. Give it those 3 things, and it will take care of the rest. When the flower spikes appear, watch them closely. The flowers open sequentially up the spike, blooming from bottom to top over several weeks. Once the flowers at the bottom of the spike have faded and the seed pods are turning brown and papery, those sections are ready to harvest. Cut the spikes and place them in a paper bag. Leave them in a dry, ventilated spot for a week or 2. Then shake the bag vigorously. The seeds will release and collect in the bottom of the bag. For a finer harvest, crush the dried spikes gently between your palms and pass them through a kitchen sieve to separate seeds from chaff. Store the seeds in a clean, dry glass jar. They will remain viable for up to 3 years, which means a single good harvest gives you enough seeds to plant 3 full seasons. Leave a few spikes on the plant without harvesting them. Let those dry naturally and drop their seeds into the soil around the base of the plant. Those seeds are your next year's crop, and they require nothing from you except being left alone. A chia plant is a prolific and generous self-seeder. The University of California Extension Office notes that any seeds not harvested are liable to sprout in abundance the following season. That sentence should change how you think about your garden. A plant that comes back on its own, fuller and more generous than the year before. From seeds, it scattered itself without you buying, planting, or doing anything at all, is not a plant you maintain. It is a partner. One honest note, because the full picture is always worth knowing. Chia in cooler climates, zones below 8, is an annual rather than a perennial. In those regions, it will not survive winter in the ground, but it will self-seed reliably if you allow flower spikes to dry and drop before frost. The seeds overwinter in the soil and germinate in spring when conditions are right. In warmer zones, it can persist as a perennial, returning from its root system year after year. Either way, once you establish a patch of chia in your garden, You have established something that tends to continue on its own terms with minimal involvement from you. The chia plant, the Aztecs, valued as currency and carried into battle, grew to 5 feet tall, bloomed blue for months, and dropped thousands of seeds in every season. The same plant grows from the seeds in your cabinet, the same nutritional profile, the same self-seeding habit, the same flowers, the same abundance. Nothing about the plant has changed in 3,000 years. The only thing that changed is what the modern world decided to do with it. The modern world looked at chia seeds and saw a product, something to sell in a bag, with a health claim on the front, something you add to a smoothie and move on. The Aztecs looked at the same seed and saw a partnership, a plant that would grow, feed them, seed itself, and grow again without being asked twice. They understood something the supplement aisle cannot teach you, that the most valuable thing about a good food plant is not the nutrition in the seed. It is the seed's ability to make more seeds. A plant that reproduces itself in your garden and returns every season is not just food. It is freedom from needing to buy that food again. You have been buying the seeds. You could have been growing the plant. Those are not the same relationship, and once you understand the difference, you will not go back to just soaking them in water. The seeds are already in your kitchen cabinet. The ground is right outside your door. The blue flowers are waiting. Now you know what to do with them. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.